Sex abuse victims can finally sue churches in New South Wales as Ellis defence abolished. Previously, churches were protected from being sued by a legal precedent which said they did not legally exist.
Here's a summary of the article.
Victims of sexual abuse can finally sue the Catholic Church in New South Wales after the state government abolished the infamous Ellis defence. In October, the NSW Parliament passed laws to allow survivors to seek justice and sue unincorporated organisations, including churches, following recommendations by the Royal Commission into Institutional Responses to Child Sexual Abuse. I'm pleased my first item of business in 2019 is to condemn the Ellis defence to the scrap heap and create a fairer civil litigation system for all child abuse survivors, the NSW Attorney General, Mark Speakman, said. This means all survivors of institutional child abuse in NSW will now have the same access to compensation through civil litigation, no matter what kind of organization is responsible. Duggan died in 2004, soon after proceedings commenced, and Ellis was left with no one to sue over the abuse he suffered. We are now going to see a pathway to justice for survivors of abuse that they haven't had in the past, said Ellis. The NSW legislation also established statutory liabilities for child abuse, which the NSW Justice Department said would establish more fair and certain avenues for survivors to pursue civil action.
This post received a score of 9,452, with an upvote ratio of 96%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
The old way the law was interpreted was such a scam.
Cardinal Pell had a lot of political and legal power at that time, and used it to the advantage of the Church. Now that he himself is being tried as a sexual abuser, we will see how much or little power he has left.
Convicted in first trial for being a perpetrator. Awaiting second trial for covering up for others.
It's been a wonderful Christmas time for us victims of Catholic clergy paedophiles from Ballarat. What with Pell being convicted and the ability to sue being enabled both in Victoria and NSW.
Your Honor, we couldn't have raped all those kids because we technically don't exist, the Church. This is getting serious, let's talk about poverty or something as we shit in our golden toilets, also the Church.
If they don't exist, then they can't hold property, winking face.
Great news. These churches are complicit in the abuse for decades in protecting these criminals, monsters, not just in Australia. The prescribed Hail Marys and move the monsters around to new hunting grounds instead. No amount of money could compensate for the horrors people have endured nor make up for childhoods stolen from them, but hopefully it will stop the rampant cover-ups and give survivors a voice plus some small semblance of justice.
Remove Ellis, and you've probably got the 4 words most associated with Catholicism in the last half-century.
In 2001, a colleague of mine wanted to write a book but had never used a computer before. He was around 50 at the time, so I was giving him a few tips. He told me the book was about how he got raped when he was 8 at a Catholic school and that his uncle, who was the principal, covered it up and kicked his own nephew out of the school. He was suing the school at the time as well. He ended up not finishing the book as they settled for $1.6 million. He never ended up getting married or having a proper life as the incident scared him.
Are they going to declare bankruptcy like the American Catholic churches? If so, can you sue in progression?
The Supreme Court has the power to nominate a proper defendant with sufficient assets. Given how much land the Church is sitting on, this isn't going to be a problem.
They're already crying poor and getting the money by closing down tiny local churches, because they're trying to suck money out of only the location the offences occurred, instead of pulling back some of the funds that have been hoovered offshore to Europe over the past 2 centuries. Church money only goes one way, apparently.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.